Welcome to the Coffee Talk with P3 podcast, where we highlight local and regional nonprofits in the Southern California community. Let's listen in to today's guest on the Coffee Talk with P3 podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coffee Talk with P3. I'm John Peterson, Executive Director of P3 Theater Company, and I am here today with a lovely trio with the Jewel Box Children's Theater Company here in Long Beach, and we are going to let y'all know all about their programming and everything that they do with our fun littles, or as my friend calls them, crumb snatchers. So please introduce yourselves one by one, kind of say your name, your position with Jewel Box Theater Company, and maybe a little bit about how you got started in the arts in general, you personally.
Okay, hi, I'm Anna Kate. I'm the artistic director. I have been participating in theater my whole life since I was a little kid. I came to the theater because I was a really shy kid, and my mom and dad had the foresight to put me in theater because I wasn't talking at school, and they wanted me to be able to communicate with people, and that's what theater taught me. It was this cool, creative world of imagination where I could go and I had permission to play and communicate and learn new communication tools. So that's what brought me into the theater. And then I, was sold from there. I did theater nonstop. I'm still participating in theater, but just in a different way. Starting Jewel Box was a dream of mine since I was a kid. I had always wanted to create a program that was accessible and inclusive, and that focused on community building, and so that's where we are today, and that's why we're here. And who are you?
I'm Andy Zacharias. I am the other director. I'm the other half of Jewel Box. I always tell people that Anna Kate is the heart and soul. She's the driving force behind Jewel Box, and I just kind of help figure out how to make everything happen. And
where can we find one of you?
right. I'm also the as far as the programming is concerned, I'm also the music director for all of our programming. So my background is in music. I moved down here to Long Beach in the 90s. I have a couple of degrees from Cal State Long Beach in music. But before that, I grew up in Northern California. I did a few children's theater productions and productions in high school, but then I started developing more as an instrumental performer. So I have more of a background in the accompaniment, in playing in played in a lot of pits in the in the orchestra for tons of musicals growing up and all throughout college and stuff like that. And Anna and I work really well together. We do a lot of coaching and I do a lot of songwriting, and
cool.
I've done some music directing as well in Southern California. I'm at the Long Beach Playhouse and theaters in Orange County at the Maverick and at Stages Theater. So yeah, that's what brought me here, and I'm just here to make theater and make music and make art and help other people do it too.
Wonderful. And last but not least,
well, my name is Naomi Worrell, and I am a parent board member for the Jewel Box Children's Theater Company. I'm a Long Beach native, and my daughter has been participating with Jewel Box for the last 8 years, and it's just been a wonderful experience, and I'm so honored to participate as a board member with a wonderful organization.
That's great, yeah. Especially when your kid's involved and you can see the difference it's making.
Absolutely.
To have that passion that you really need to bring to be able to be a board member that is solid.
Yes.
is amazing.
And part of what me coming back as working as or serving as a board member, Jewel Box offers a lot of scholarships to a lot of our local youth. And my daughter happened to be a recipient of a scholarship one year. And I felt it was important for me the way if I could not give back monetarily, I can give them my time. And this is what I particularly choose to show my appreciation for what they do, is be able to participate as a board member and give them my time and my energy to helping their organization grow.
That's amazing.
We love you.
Did you have any involvement in the arts before this, or was your daughter the first involvement?
It's a family business, if you will. My dad was a singer in South America. He would sing Temptation songs and things, all in Spanish, okay?
Oh,
And
cool.
toured all of South America. I love to sing, but I like to sing in the bathroom by myself.
Right, great acoustics there.
Totally, I sound amazing in the restroom. And but my daughter, I saw that talent in her immediately at age 2. And unfortunately, I could not afford to send her to dance lessons and vocal lessons. It's very expensive, and I wanted to help nourish and nurture that talent in her. And the one important thing for me was finding an organization that was going to also nurture. And that's what Anna and Andy do. They really nurture the children talents individually. And really can point out their strengths and give them that confidence to just, shine through. So my daughter has no problem going in front of, an audience. She has no problem singing in front of a big group of people. And it is kind of me as a parent enjoying what she does. On a personal level, because that's my daughter, right, and kind of vicariously living through her. But as a community member, being able to see my child give back to her community in a way through music and song that she probably wouldn't at such a young age, starting at age 8, like I mentioned. And so for her to be able to do that and inspire other students to want to give back to their community in some way, it is so rewarding, more rewarding to me than seeing her singing on stage. It's really like, wow, she gets the fact that she's sharing her talents through a wonderful, nonprofit such as Jewel Box Children's Theater to give back to her community in such a special way.
Absolutely. So we have a little bit of artistic background here. How did we get from playing in pits and performing to starting this theater company?
For me, it was a lifelong dream. I attended the High School of the Arts in Orange County.
Okay.
And while I was a student there back in the 90s, in the olden days, I watched a documentary called City of Peace. I believe that's what it was called. And it was all about this theater company that was created by a father and his son, I believe in Chicago. And they were really bringing in, it was a true community theater. They were bringing the entire community in. And that was the first time I went like, wow, this is powerful. Like, it's not just about, yes, singing, dancing, music, it all does something to us. Acting, right, it does something to us. But to see it on a large scale, what it can do, how it can change, and how it can uplift communities. That was something that has always burned inside of me, right? That I want to do this someday. So our son came into our life, and he, of course, is not a theater kid. He's not a theater kid. Visual arts and sports. But we really saw that we could create something that was maybe unique and doing something a little different. We wanted to create a program that would be accessible. And not just like, easy to get to, but accessible in that the programming is community driven. We everything is rooted in theater games and game playing and coming together, giving the kids basically the tools to go out and create their own theater. They can create theater with us, but we're always like, yeah, go home this weekend and put on a show in your backyard or at your friend's house. So just really empowering the kids to create their own art, make their own stuff. Like, sure, there's wonderful theater out there, right? There's wonderful theater that's been created that we love. I love going up to the Pantages and sitting and seeing it. There's nothing like that, right? Mm-hmm. But, where's our next generation of theater makers going to come from, right? Yeah. We need to be encouraging them. We need to be, helping them understand that the torch is going to be passed to them at some point, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why this started. We were like, let's do something that's a little different. Let's create new theater with kids. And sometimes it's messy and kooky, but it's always fun. It's always rewarding. And the kids go away with this sense of pride of like, I just wrote a song. I wrote a show. These are my friends. We are a community. We created something together. And the beauty of that, of just recognizing and understanding that theater, as beautiful and razzle-dazzle as it can be, the core is community,
Yeah.
right? We look at every culture has this strong, the practices of music, dance, right? Art, it's all there, but it's a given, right? It's a given especially you look at ancient societies, it's just part of it. But then somewhere along the line it became, you have to be the best at it, you have to train, and if you don't have that training, you're out, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to create an even playing field where no, if you want this, if you want to do this, come be a part of it. And also too, putting it out there that this is not scary. It's storytelling, it's sharing, and everyone can do it. I think that's the most important thing, is letting people know that this is not an elitist sport. This is for everyone. Theater, music, dance, it's for everyone, because it makes you feel good, right? It's a medicine.
Universal language.
Yes,
Absolutely.
a universal language. It's a healing. These are healing arts. The arts, we know this. They're not just there because they're pretty and wonderful. They're there because they heal us, right? There's medicinal value. So that's why we do what we do.
And I think personally, we both come from backgrounds, like I as an instrumentalist and a musician, I was a songwriter, I'm a composer and an improviser, and Anna's background in theater, she has a lot of, she can tell you about all the crazy experimental theater and improv, all the theater experiments that she's done. And that's kind of what inspired us to do the work that we do with the kids. A lot of what we do is based in creating new works. So the kids get to write, they come up with their own characters, they come up with a story, they write their own songs. And I think that's why we came to doing what we did. Like personally, that's our background, is that we both had a lot of background in the creation side of it, yeah.
And let me tell you, there's nothing like, I think everybody has attempted at some point to write a poem or write a song or write something, right? Getting a room of 15 to 20 kids to write a song is it's the best, because there's going to be bickering, there's going to be infighting, there's going to be,
said.
right?
Yeah.
They always come to us, Miss Anna Kate, Andy, blah, my idea, their idea, blah, blah, what are we gonna do? And I always say, you know what to do, figure it out. You've got to make compromises. All of your ideas can get put into this somehow, but you have to figure it out. And no joke, it's always 5 minutes later they'll come back and be like, oh, we have the best idea in the world, we figured it out. And that is the lesson, right? Yeah. That we have to figure things out as human beings, as communities. Otherwise it's just what's the point, right?
So cognitive skills, social skills, confidence building, team building. A lot of people don't realize that all of those things come into play in the arts.
Yes.
And
yes.
At any level.
Yes, advocacy.
Yes.
Advocacy,
Yes.
the biggest one, self-advocacy, but also we so much as teachers, our students will let us know, oh, so-and-so's been raising their hand, right? Little things like that. It really cuts through the way we teach, right? And that we're presenting something, we're building something as a community. There's no star. There's no hierarchical structure of that person's better than this one. We really focus on ensemble work because it's human, right? And so the kids take care of each other. The kids from day one, we let the brave ones know, you're the brave ones, okay, brave, not so brave. Your job is to help lift our friends that maybe need a little help with lifting their voices. So that that's the beauty of this, right? So getting them to understand that there are other ways to approach theater and approach music and
ultimately approach life.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Yes.
And that's what it comes down to. That's what it's all about, right? And so we also let the kids, while we're creating something, while we're writing something and creating a scene, we tell the kids, you go where you're comfortable. So if you want to be a part of the ensemble and you don't want a lot of lines by yourself, if that makes you too nervous, be where you're comfortable, and when you start working up that bravery, then let's create more of a significant character for you, and then they kind of come to it on their own. A lot of kids come to us and they have terrible anxiety and stage fright, and that almost every time they come right out of their shell, and they they're jumping in with the
Yes.
crowd and
Yes.
working together.
As somebody who's done workshops with youth, like improv workshops and stuff like that, isn't that an amazing
Yeah.
process to see happen, to witness?
Yes.
And it's probably, in my opinion, one of the most rewarding things
Yes.
about working with somebody in that age range.
Yes.
It's just one of my favorite stories. Like we were doing the organization's no longer around, but they were Power for Youth,
Okay.
and they had basically disadvantaged youth, and each of them was paired up with a mentor. So it was a one-on-one, and we had the mentors and the youth in this improv workshop.
Wonderful.
And the one kid that really sticks out of my mind was sitting back with the hoodie on, like this in the corner. Just I couldn't tell what he was thinking at all. It's like he hated being there, or
Yes.
he was nervous to be there. I couldn't figure it out. And by the end of this 90-minute workshop, he was rapping in the middle of the group by himself, improv,
Yeah.
in front of
Yes.
everybody.
Incredible.
Rewarding
Yes.
as heck.
We know and love those students,
Yes.
right? And that's what our thing is we see you no matter what. Like that's another reason why we keep the structure of our classes is generally very small, right? 15 to 20 kids max.
Okay.
Per 2 teachers. And if we need to open up to more, we'll create another section of a class, or we'll invite a student and their family to something else that we're doing, because it's important that no one gets left behind in this work,
Right.
that everybody feels seen and everyone feels heard, because being a kid who was, very shy and nonverbal at school when I was a little one, those are the kids that I pick up on their energy. I take extra time with those students. And one of my favorite stories is we have a student who we've known since they were young, and they love to do our program, but they don't like being on stage.
Yeah.
And so they would always choose, I want to do something behind the scenes. How about I can do the Foley, I can do the sound, right? They wanted to be there though, right? They wanted to be there. And by, we're in the middle of production, and because we're creating these shows, he has the flexibility to do this. He comes up to me and he says, I have a joke. I have a joke that I want to put in the show. Of all things, you want to do the most vulnerable thing. You want to get up and tell a joke.
Yeah.
And we're like,
hardest thing
are
to
you
do."
ready? And we gave him an exit. We're like, the show is written to where if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But yes,
pressure.
you're going to do that joke. He did it and he killed it, and like that, and that's the thing. So much of the time we see that replay again and again, and then they have this community of friends that have been building theater with them, for the last however many months, and it's just like, yes, yay, they all celebrate together,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And they haven't mentioned yet, but they also work in after-school programs where they see hundreds, if not thousands, of students, and giving them this creative outlet on campus. And with the arts in public schools, it just hasn't revved back up. There's some in some schools and there's none in others. And for them to be able to come in and connect with those students and give them this sense of joy and pride and things that they work on in creativity, it speaks volumes to what it is that they're capable, even more so with support, to do, and how many students they can reach here just in Long Beach, if not even further outside of Long Beach. So it's really important that it is understood that not only are they, connecting with those students that are in smaller classroom settings or smaller environments, but bigger environments where students are just like, what is this?
Yes.
What are these activities? I'm improving, what's improving? What is that? So it's those kind of things where they get that exposure, they get the freedom, they learn how to be vulnerable, and then they really can tap into themselves without a judgmental audience, right? They have the permission to, which what I love to say, get lost in the music, get lost in the scene, get lost in the game, get lost among your friends, not to thinking about, oh, did Sally say this right, or did I say this right, and is Johnny looking at me, why is he squinting his eyes at me? Like, none of that matters, because you just go in, and then as parents, as you're sitting back and watching, you're just lost in it too, and it really taps into the child in all of us, right? We just sit there and we go, oh my goodness, this is so much fun, and you want to participate as you're watching. So not only is it just connecting with those kids, it's connecting with everyone and their families. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
And Naomi tapped into something because we have a community class. It's a family theater games class because we've noticed that about parents will come and sit in, and so to encourage parents to show up to a class with their kid and play mirror. The games are really our foundation, and we've had the privilege of working with Viola Spolin's family. So Aretha Sills, her granddaughter, we trained with her, and we continue to train with her and follow her work, and we always make sure that we're reevaluating the way that we present the games, because theater games are so important. A lot of people don't realize that improv and theater games, created by a woman, Viola Spolin, look her up, the queen, the mother of improv, but such a humble, wonderful person, came from social work, and really left this beautiful legacy that's a blueprint for all of us theater teachers to really, it's a springboard, because there's no better way, I think, to invite, especially those kids that are like, what is this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a student last year say, theater, what is that? They had never heard the word before. I've met kids, and it's beautiful though.
Yes.
No, but I love it. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have the privilege of letting you know what this is, because I love theater is my life. I'm so passionate about it, and I get so excited when I meet a kid like that. Or I have met children who they have never sung in their life.
Right.
They
Right.
don't sing, and the first time they do it, and I'm not kidding, I'm not saying this dramatics, we have had kids that have been in tears in class because they're like, they'll say, this is just so moving, and it's vulnerable,
Yes.
right? And not everybody has a life where singing is a part of their life, playing theater games is a part of their life, right? So being able to be like, hey, there's this really fun thing, and we're all going to do it. We're going to do it together, and you're going to have fun, right? You're going to come along and join and be a part of something that's just it's super cool, super fun, right?
And with social media, there's that wall already, right?
Yeah.
You have that
Right?
wall,
Yeah.
and a lot of our young people are just, that's just what they know, right? From the time they're, 1 year old. Here's an iPad, here's a cell phone, and just scroll. But you don't get a chance to tap into that child to find out what they're all about. And usually it gets to be by the time they're in second grade or third grade or fourth grade that the type of programming that Jewelbox is offering is when they can start saying, wow, I don't have to hide behind this phone anymore. I don't have to hide behind this iPad anymore. I can actually come and have, interactions and engage with my peers and with adults and really find out who I am, right? We're just trying to allow them to have that self-discovery. And I think Jewelbox does a beautiful and organic and genuine job of bringing out the best of each child.
You.
That's
And
amazing.
the kids realize too, there's, because of this singular bubble, right, that society has created, right? They realize that working together towards a common goal with a bunch of other people is really fun. In person or during the pandemic, we were online, we were fully online, and everybody was we were putting together shows and, playing games and doing everything, but it's that's why we're here as human beings. We're here for each other. We're not here to be the star of our own show.
Exactly.
We're here for each other. And I think when kids, when they get a taste of it, it's oh yeah, this is fun. This is life. This is fun.
And it feels
Right.
safe.
Yes.
It feels
Right?
safe. It feels
Right?
safe. It feels like that you have a family outside of your family.
Yes.
And as parents, you feel like you have a family outside of your family. And when sometimes family at home can be stressful and challenging, you get to go to Jewelbox, and then you get to see these wonderful people who pour their hearts and soul into what they do, and then it becomes infectious, and then you want to go do that outside of Jewelbox in your own community. And that's really, I think, when you dig a little deeper, just as you were saying, it's these life lessons to go out there to be productive and be able to contribute to your community, to your world. Be citizens of the world, right? Responsible citizen of the world.
So as a parent, that has a child that's involved with Jukebox
Yes.
Children's Theater. You said 8 years?
So she's 15 now.
Okay.
She'll be 16 in October. So she just loves it, and she serves as an ambassador with Jewelbox. Jewelbox created this amazing program that since she's been working with them for the last 8 years, she and another young gentleman are ambassadors to Jewelbox, and then they do events around the community. So they've done ribbon cuttings at parks. They performed in front of the mayor and city council members for Women's Right Month. Women's Month. They have worked at for the Historical Society of Long Beach at their annual cemetery event and a tour. That's what
Cemetery.
cemetery event where they sing songs about Long Beach that are over 100 years old that Anna and Andy both found through the Historical Society of Long Beach.
Wow.
And I love saying this, that they are actually keeping the spirit of Long Beach going and alive, right? They're sharing these songs from years ago that no one even existed, that we have our own special Long Beach songs, and they get to go to these events and sing these songs, and then people around the community, young and old, get to hear these songs for the first time that shares the story and history of Long Beach, and like I said, keep the spirit of Long Beach going.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if a parent were to come to Jukebox Children's Theater Company and say, I've got a kid, 6 years old, we'll take a number. I really want them to get involved in theater. They're all over the place. You know, I can't get them to focus, and they're always singing and jumping around and making up dances. What do you guys have that, how do I get my kids started with the Jukebox Children's Theater Company?
We usually, when they're that young, we have them come to our library class. So we have a library class at Signal Hill Library. It's a family class, just to see how they are in a class setting. And the parents usually can participate with them. Generally, our classes, usually when we're working with kids that young, it's at a Head Start program. So we work with Head Start preschoolers, little tiny kids.
Okay.
Our programming that is outside of the schools, that's at either, so we have 3 programs. We have our conservatory program, which is through Long Beach Playhouse. So we are their in-house children's theater company.
Oh, cool.
And then we have our studio program over at our studio on the west side and on Santa Fe Avenue, right across from Cabrillo High. And that we have some family classes over there as well. We have free stuff that goes on over there, but a lot of the stuff that's there is 9 and up, but we do make exceptions. So if you come to that library class and you're enjoying it, and we can tell that this is going to be a good fit, kids can come on in and come to our other classes. But generally, a child has to be ready for that environment.
Sure.
Of you're going to have to make a compromise when you're writing a show, right? When you're creating a piece of music, if you come in and you're in that environment, it can be a little jarring, right? Like, oh, we have control of all of this?
Right.
What? So generally we work with 9 and up in our studio and conservatory program. But when we're out in the community, really the youngest is we're at Head Starts. Sometimes we're with babies, shakers, singing,
Get them all there.
Dancing.
moving, right? And that brings me back to, about 95% of our program is free. We're grant writing, we're funding it, we're volunteering, because we believe in what we do. And then the other portion of what we do, like the conservatory program at the Playhouse and our studio over on Santa Fe, we have scholarships to all of that. Based on financial need, right? So we really have worked hard to make this as accessible as possible for all ages, and that once again is why the family class became important, and creating something where because sometimes a child needs to see their parent be brave,
Yeah.
and sometimes a parent needs
Wow.
to see their child be brave, and it's profound what can happen when a student gets up and they are showing their parents, I can do it, Mom, you can do it. And then Mom gets up hesitantly, and then she feels that, oh, whoa, I just sang, I can do this, right? And it's just, it's necessary. We need to be doing these things.
Yeah, and I can imagine too, as a small child, having your parent with you, I remember as a kid, I always wanted to be validated by my parents because of the respect I had for them, and to have them be able to participate with you in something like that and see them go along with you, and it's a way of supporting and validating what they're doing and the choices that they're making through this program.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then bonds are created, right?
Yeah.
And then that child who's maybe new to theater is seeing, oh, this is safe. And the parent, like Naomi has said, we do these cabarets once a month, every month at the Long Beach Playhouse. And Naomi's daughter Nava has performed in them since day one. And she one day said, I might want to do that one day. And we're like, you should. Every cabaret, we talk to the audience. We say, you're all invited.
I'm currently working on a song, okay? Of course, I'm practicing in the shower.
Yes. And those are wins, right? That
Yes.
is a great place to start. And we open that up. We have free rehearsal time, and people get to work with Andy. Andy is I feel like we're so lucky to have him because he sits down with the kids and they will write the song together, they will come up with the melody, and he just fleshes it all out.
Amazing.
And that's expensive.
Yeah.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
he's
Yes.
offering is not
it's
cheap.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Yes.
not at all.
Yeah.
And
It's
so-
like you need second mortgage on
Yeah.
houses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he does it from his heart. He does it because he loves music. He gives the gift to music to children. And you can't get that anywhere else. I'll tell you right now. I've searched and seen and heard other parents, and I thank God, really, every day, because they are truly blessings to our community. And really, you're not going to get that anywhere. And even other nonprofits, I'm sorry, you're not going to get an accompanist that's going to sit there with you and actually go over sheet music, give you directions, walk you through the process, play around with the music, work on your tempo, work on your pitch, all of those things. You're not going to get that.
No.
You're not going to get that for free. You're not going to get that from someone who genuinely loves what it is that they do. And if there are, please forgive me, kudos to you, but I've yet to see it. And I am so beyond fortunate to be able to be in collaboration with them and have my child work with them and spread the word about what it is Jewel Box is doing. Because it's unique. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of different children's theater companies as an actor or teaching artist over the years, Florida, New York, and here and in Texas. And I've never heard of this type of program, the creation portion of it. And it's such a unique take on children's theater. And it's something that they won't get out there. And it develops a whole different cognitive skill than just coming in and doing a show.
Absolutely.
As a kid,
Yeah.
you guys could be creating the next Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Right?
That's what
That's
we're
the
thinking.
hope.
Rodgers
Yeah.
and Hammerstein.
And what's so wonderful
Sondheim.
about that, yes, because what's so wonderful about that too, even though we have these wonderful pop artists out there, Andy and Anna really stick to the foundations, the start of music, right? Jazz standards, Cole Porter type music. They really get grounded, have the kids get grounded in this, foundation of music that someone like, oh yeah, that sounds like Ariana Grande, or you know what I mean? So they're not starting off going, okay, yeah, we have these pop artists that they're familiar with, and that's all they want to sing. My daughter, she loves the classics. Give her a Fats Waller, arrangement. Give her, classical musical theater, all that. Anything goes. Those types of things. Those are the songs she wants to sing. She's a Chicago fan. Here she is, this 15-year-old that just, a lot of the stuff she don't get because she's just not there yet. But still, she's like, this is me. I'm Roxy, Mom, and I'm like, okay, baby, what? You go.
And speaking of Ariana Grande, for those of y'all that do not know, Ariana Grande started in theater.
Yes.
She is a theater child. So when you go see that Wicked movie, you're not just watching a pop star.
Yes.
You are watching a theater kid
Absolutely.
who did 13 on Broadway.
Absolutely.
13 is the name of the show,
Yes.
for those of you that don't know. But it's theater's almost like the ballet
Yes.
of performing. You know,
Right.
if you're studying dance, you really need to take some form of ballet to help strengthen your the other styles of dance.
Empowering our kids, letting them know you can do this. You know?
So your programming, is it by like a semester, or you know, if they sign up for the classes or the workshops, what's the duration that they would expect?
It's different. So when we go to schools, we meet every part of the community, wherever we go in, we meet them where they're at. And that goes, you know, when we go into Head Starts, we'll go to each class maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times a year. And there's no, it's just, you know, playing and fun. When we're at schools, sometimes the program is year long. So the first section of the year is skill building. Here are the tools. The second section of the year is let's put it together. And maybe we put together the historic Long Beach songs and then write a school song, or maybe we do something completely fresh and new. But we do love to give them, you know, the tools first. And then with our programming that we do at the Playhouse and through our studio, the studio is more just like a place to come and train, right? You're not going to have the pressure of having to put up a show. There, you know, there is performance troupe, but that's even, you know, it's very low pressure. And then at the Playhouse, it's what's the duration? Like 4 to 5 months?
Yeah.
It's about 4 to 5 months.
3 to 4 months.
Okay, so 3 to 4 months, and the first show is always the radio show. So they have script. There's still some song and dance numbers that they'll write in, but the script will be on stage. You know, the Foley's on stage. It's much more of a this is a good first step for kids, especially that have never done theater, right? Because could you imagine being in like you know, Hello Dolly for your first show, and you're like, what's going on here, right? Like lights and music and hundreds of people, and so we try to do, you know, that's always fall. And then the spring show is completely devised, no script, it's devised. So we take the Spollen Theater Games. The kids will break off into groups. They'll come back together. We take what works and what fits together. Like we've created puzzle pieces and create a show. Sometimes it's an umbrella piece where the show is, for instance, one year it was that house on Soulfire Street, and they turned the Playhouse into a haunted mansion, and they each had their own different vignette, right? So this haunted house through time had different stories, and they each chose their different era to, you know, and there was, you know, paranormal activity and all this stuff, right? And then last year they all came together and wrote one cohesive piece called The Magical Moonlight Diner, about these actors that, you know, they converge every day in this diner, and little do they know they've been brought there to save the world. And they do. They save the world. So, you know,
It's so cool.
It was.
yeah.
Like a great performance.
They saved the universe.
You know, so those are like some of our long form, but you know, when we're at schools, we make sure we take a lot of time, especially with the older kids, of like, here are your skills. Let's get the skills first, let's get the tools, and then let's dig in.
Set them up for success.
Yes, 100%. Set them up for success. Make sure they're all on an equal playing field, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say that. So at our studio, the programming is kind of monthly. So it's if you want to, you know, come for a few classes, we offer classes. We have a theater games class, just like learning how to work together and build confidence and use your voice. We have we do singing classes, so it's ensemble. So if you want to learn some new songs or you know, learn how to sing together, maybe learn a little bit of singing in harmony. We do songwriting. So if you want to just come and brainstorm and just kind of get goofy and be creative and write some songs. And then on Fridays, we do a free class. It's just a drop-in class. So parents can bring their kids, and that's just, you know, when people are available, if they want to come Fridays at 5 o'clock. And that kind of rotates. So we do, sometimes it's theater games, sometimes it's singing, sometimes it's visual arts and crafts. It just depends. Sometimes it's dance, and it just depends on what we have scheduled for each particular month. And then our conservatory program at the Playhouse is more of a long term. So you have to sign on for a production. It's not like a drop-in.
Mhm.
That's sort of the difference between those two things.
So there's really something for everybody.
Yeah.
You've got,
Yes.
we've talked about all ages. We've talked about all levels. You've talked about people who want to be involved for the long term. And then you talked about the a la carte people. Maybe they have so many things that, if you're
Yeah.
anything like my sister, I've got one niece that's taking piano. She plays tennis. She,
Yeah.
depending
Yes.
on what end of the week,
Yeah.
it's something different. So then you got the parent that wants to try out different things to find out what's right for their children or what their children
Yes.
enjoy more, which is always theater.
We hope,
Should
right?
be,
Yeah.
should be. So that's amazing. I mean, you, in its own way, you've made by setting it up like that, you've created an inclusive environment as well,
Yeah.
because somebody's going to be interested in one of those
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then we also have a program that's not at our studio and it's not at the Playhouse. We actually go out into the community and we work with a number of different community partners like Head Start, libraries, after school programs, parks. And that we always love when people reach out and invite us to come out to their space. If they have, we have grant funding that can cover like a lot of it. And we always love, when people reach out and, see if there's stuff that's available, and we always try to make it work.
That's so cool. So you're in demand.
Yeah.
I like that.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, it sure
You know,
sounds like it.
and I think it's important too to know that we started this as a legacy project, and one day Andy and our hope is to walk away from this and hand it over to one of our students. That's the end game. The end game is to hand it over to the community.
And one of my daughter's proudest moments being part of Jewel Box is she served as a junior counselor at their summer camp
Yes!
this year. And she was able to connect with the younger students that joined in, and she was challenged with having to come up with choreography on the spot for a lot of these kids and really serve as a leader. And so I think that right there, in that moment, she was like, wow, I get to teach what it is that Anna and Andy has taught me to a younger generation. And that just made her even feel more fulfilled as a Long Beach artist, but at the same time, someone, again, giving back to the community, right? When you invest in your community, those kids, those people are going to want to give back. And that's what makes our world go round,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
We can't just, it's me, invest in me. But in turn, what can I give back? What are my greatest gifts that I can give back? Now, I know my daughter is not shy whatsoever. She is no shortage of confidence, but she knows she can sing. And she knows that she can give back to her community by sharing her talents.
Yeah.
And that's what we want all of our students to get out of it at some point, right? That's what we want as parents, to have our children feel like they can contribute with their best assets, their best of who they are.
Yes.
And again, we need people like Anna and Andy who can tap into their hearts and souls about who they are and what they want to be. If they don't want to be on Broadway, so be it. But I bet what they've learned will take them to be the next president of the United States.
You literally segued into exactly what I was going to say. Not the president, yes, or an astronaut or anything.
Yeah. Exactly.
But,
or
the gift.
artistic director of Jewel Box Children's Theater. You know what I mean? Because it's the pride of ownership.
Yes.
It's that
Absolutely.
pride of ownership.
Of course. But you guys are giving these children such a gift
Thank you.
through your programming. Like you said, they don't have to be the next pop star, Broadway star. They could be a doctor. They could work in fast food.
Absolutely.
They could own a business. They could be a CPA. Whatever it is, I guarantee, just from life experience and what I know about theater, things that they've learned from you guys and the Jewel Box Children's Theater, they will take into that in their adulthood. And
100%.
that's why organizations that are small and local nonprofits
Yes.
are so important in the community, because we create the next generation.
Absolutely.
We give them from the core something they can't get from a school, from a normal teacher, because they're so limited in everything they can do. They have to teach for the test scores. Did I just say that? But they're gaining that confidence, the leadership skills, the improv. Life is in improv.
Yes.
And the humanity in that. But I think one of my proudest moments this summer was Nava, Naomi's daughter. She was helping run a class, and I was sitting back watching her run this improv, and one of the students started getting down on themselves, and she stopped and she just went on this beautiful 1-minute soapbox of why this student was so wonderful and how I couldn't believe it. And I was just like, this is what it's about, is watching that next generation give back in a positive, beautiful way, lifting each other up. That's what this is about, right? And we get to see that happen when it's created in a way. We've created this program by design so that it's not just like, okay, you're done, you've aged out. It's okay, no, now what do we need to do next? Where can we go from here? How can we support you now as a human being and as an artist? And being able to do that full circle where you're either teaching for us, and we make sure too that we're giving back to our students. If you're working for us, you're either getting paid with physical cold hard cash, or you're trading for services. You know, so we make sure our kids that are ambassadors that go out, they're not just performing and helping make a name for Jewel Box for nothing. We make sure to give them a stipend and work with them, so they understand their worth as human beings and as artists. You know, so we make sure to set that foundation. You know, that there's a trajectory.
And then there's a lot of rah-rah and a lot of, oh, you're amazing. Yes, we need that. But at the same time, Anna and Andy are very challenging as well. Those kids need to study their lines. They need to learn that music. They need to learn how to ask questions. She'll put the onus on them. You need to figure it out. So it's not just like, we're going to praise you and we're going to lift you all the way up. But there's an expectation. And we want you to know that we know you can meet that expectation. We know you can take it to the next level, and we're going to push you in a very loving and nurturing way that makes sense, that doesn't make kids scared, to make them turn away. It allows them the freedom to really just embrace what's being asked of them, and then for them to tap inside to figure out how to get there. And not by holding their hands and, swaddling them all the way. No, what are you going to do? And then that's when all the tools that you've introduced come into play, and you're like, magic.
I always say, I challenge you to challenge yourself.
Yes.
Because you have to.
Yeah,
you have
you
to.
do.
And being a kid that, I still have anxiety. We all have anxiety, right? Being a kid though, that I had really debilitating anxiety, and knowing that sometimes you do have to swaddle a little, right?
Yes.
But then you do have to let those students know, okay, you can do this. You can do this. And when you see those kids break through and have their moment of on stage, it's, that's a core memory that they're going to take with them for the rest of their life, 100%. Where they can know, because I'm that way. I'll know if I'm having a hard day, I'll just go, wait, I've been here before. I've faced this before, and with theater and music, we get to practice being brave. We get to practice being brave with art, and that's so important. So when we do meet those challenges, we can go, wait, I've been here before. I'm just going to sing myself a little song and power through, and there's so much there. It's so good. It's good stuff.
Just sitting here, I can feel the excitement come off all of you, actually. When you're just talking about this, the passion, the love for what you're giving and what you're teaching to our youth. It's amazing. So they're putting these shows together. Do they do any book shows as well? Book show is a show that's already existing with a script.
We did, and there has been talk about coming back to that, especially for our older kids. In due time, possibly. I think if we did a book show, we would want to do an original book show. We did try book shows. When we started, the foundation was original theater. The kids were writing their own stuff, and then there was a period where we kind of we were like, oh, we're gonna test the waters on this, and they're great. We did a great job. I don't feel like our students, especially the really young ones, are getting as much out of that as they're going to get from building a show.
Right.
Showing up for each other in community, having writer's block, getting to process that and go through that. And also too, just learning how to be a good human being and communicate with other kids, other people. Like, that is such a skill in and of itself. So, one day we may put a book show back in, but if we do, it will be an original, because I think it's important to remind kids that, there's so many opportunities to do the book shows that already exist. Go to those other theater companies, try them out,
there's a lot
see
of
what
great
they're
companies
doing.
that are doing
There
them.
are wonderful children's theaters, community theaters. Go and experience that, because they're the best at that, right? They're the best at that. So go and experience that. But you're always going to have this place to come back to, this place to land. And even when you're doing one of those book shows, you have to have your improv skills, right?
Oh, absolutely.
What happens when your
We've
friend goes
all-
up on a line?
Yeah, we've
or,
all gone blank on stage, or
right?
had your scene partner go blank on stage,
Right.
in the middle of a song even.
Right?
Oh,
And
that's the worst.
That's
the
where
worst.
that rooting in
Yeah.
with starting with the games.
Yes.
That this is
That's-
the operative word is play. I always tell our kids it's a play, not a perfect. Right?
Yes.
This is play. It's supposed to be fun. Because if it's not fun for you, it's not fun to watch. Right? So I don't
Absolutely.
care if they mess up and go in a completely direction in the show.
It's a whole new show.
A whole
Yes.
new show. As long as you're having fun. And I let them know, I say, but here's the caveat. When you go to another theater company, you have to fall in line with what they're doing.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you understand that there are different ways of doing theater and there are rules, right? So we're doing something that is maybe for the kid that needs a little more hands-on, a little more creativity that gets to come from them, and a little more group think and making something out of nothing. They get to create their own costumes too. We bring a big thing of costumes and throw it out there, and then they'll bring in their stuff, and kids will trade stuff, and so everything is really from the bottom up. We just make sure no one gets hurt, right?
Important.
And that they understand that there is a structure to it,
Right.
And play within these lines. Yes, you can go outside the lines here and there, but make sure that we're being respectful. Make sure that we're being kind. Make sure that we're lifting everyone up on the way there. So yeah. But anyway, kids get theater, no matter what it is, it's good.
Yes,
right?
yes. So they create these fantastic shows. I'm sure I can't even imagine some of the plots that these are. But because kids are so honest, they're brutally honest sometimes. Can the public attend these performances?
So our shows, the shows that the kids create, are closed to family and friends only. And it's something that we put in place number one, because children's theater, it's kind of this beast in that if you have a cast, their entire family is going to come, and all of their friends and everyone that knows them. Your theater is already full. So our responsibility is to those children and their family and their friends first. The only way to get to see us publicly is really to attend a public event where we're performing. So we do have an ensemble group that goes out and performs. Those types of occasions where the kids are and they understand that they're out in the community as a representative, right? I think sometimes in creating community theater for children and creating a safe place, there are children that need to know who is in the audience. There are children that need to know that audience is safe. And that is of the utmost importance to us, was not an afterthought, it was definitely by design. But there are ways to see us in person. You just have to catch us out in public. We will, August 26th, the wonderful Zoe Nicholson, she every year on Women's History, it's the day women got the right to vote. and she's a wonderful woman. She does a program down at City Hall, and this is Nava's second time?
Yes.
Second time participating. So Nava and Sammy, our other ambassador, they'll be performing at that.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you list those community performances on your website?
Sometimes we'll Instagram them or whatever,
Gotcha.
but are they on the calendar right now?
We try to put them up.
Yeah.
So if people wanted to either A, get their child involved, or B, even volunteer some time, or even, donate,
Yes.
how would they do that? Where would they find all this information?
Go
They
to our
can
website.
Go to jewelboxct.org.
Yes. Say it into the camera, Andy.
Jewelboxct.org.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I just mentioned if they wanted to donate. Now, probably the second most important topic of our conversation today is funding
Yes.
for creating such programming and hiring, I'm imagining, teaching artists, and there's so much overhead and costs, and nothing's free.
Mm-mm.
So how do you fund all this amazing programming?
Grant writing. Before we started Jewelbox, Andy and I did not know we were grant writers. So we do a lot of grant writing. We also have some wonderful organizations that have funded us since the beginning. So we've been lucky there. It's still never enough, right?
Right.
Especially with inflation and where everything is headed, everything is becoming more and more expensive. And it does make things a little prohibitive. Funding is number one, and small donations, even a $5 or $10 donation, really, really can help us thrive. Getting a kid into our program, if they're just taking, if they're doing, let's say for instance, just the conservatory at the Playhouse, that program is in all, between $300 and $400. It just depends lengthwise how long the program is. So a few donations of $10, $20, $100, that all adds up, and it gives a student the privilege of attending that. And then our relationship with the Long Beach Playhouse is unique in that when we do our summer program, they have their own funding that they contribute. Our monthly cabarets, all of the money that's raised in the cabarets goes towards the summer fund as well. There's a lot more funding to bring more kids into that program during the summer. So we work with the Playhouse on that to come together and make sure that there's a lot of funding there for kids to attend summer camp.
Great.
Which is super fun.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
The key phrase I took away from that is there's never enough. No. So just because they get funding from this organization, that organization, those individuals, any support is helpful.
Yes,
any support. Think you mentioned $5.
Yes.
That's a Starbucks. Yes. That's less than one Starbucks. And what would also be helpful, I imagine, is if do you have the ability to give recurring donations as an individual?
Yes.
As well?
Yep.
So those definitely help because it's something that the financial side of the organization can count on. Just think about that. Every dollar that you give helps us to continue to give back to the community. So we look forward to seeing your donation to our campaign this year. Thank you to Jewelbox Children's Theater Company of Long Beach. And thank you to Buell Brown, our producer.
Thank you, Buell.
Yes, of Stage Explorations, who is producing this entire series. And thanks to you, the community, for all of your support. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Coffee Talk with P3. Ciao for now.
To learn more about the Coffee Talk with P3 podcast and the nonprofit theater behind this podcast, go to the P3 Theater Company website at www.p3theater.biz. That's P3theatre.biz. And if you are a theater and arts nonprofit that would like to be highlighted on a Coffee Talk with P3 podcast, or you know a nonprofit that should be highlighted, please email me, John Peterson, at john@p3theater.biz. That's Jon John at p3theater.biz. We would love to start a conversation with you and your nonprofit. Looking forward to enjoying another coffee and discussion with you in the future. To learn more about the Coffee Talk with P3 podcast and the nonprofit theater behind this podcast, go to the P3 Theater Company website at www.p3theater.biz. That's P3THEATRE.biz. And if you are a theater and arts nonprofit that would like to be highlighted on a Coffee Talk with P3 podcast, or you know a nonprofit that should be highlighted, please email me, John Peterson, at john@p3theater.biz. That's JON John at p3theater.biz. We would love to start a conversation with you and your nonprofit. Looking forward to enjoying another coffee and discussion with you in the future.